Hello brothers, today we will be talking about one of the most complicated subjects in Space Marine 2. How does damage calculation work? There are primarily two types of damage that the player should be interested in for precise build making: melee damage and range damage. The scope of this video will be to provide the viewers a general idea of how damage is calculated in these two instances. Thankfully, the formula itself isn't too complicated. The variables and how they interact together though are where things could get confusing. Here is how the formula generally appears. Ranged and melee damage formula are slightly different, but they both share the following components: base modifier, damage sensitivity, and static modifiers. Do note that content of the same components are additive with one another, whereas the components are multiplicative with one another. This may not seem like a major difference at first glance, but the results will speak for themselves. Let's take a look at the different components of our damage formula. We start off with static modifiers, as these are fairly simple. They serve as simple multipliers to the damage of a given weapon, and due to their exclusively multiplicative nature will result in larger changes to the final damage when an additional static modifier is added in. Some examples of such modifiers include base damage of a weapon, the motion value of a melee attack, range damage bonus, auspex, innate weapon headshot bonus, innate enemy headshot bonus, innate enemy damage bonus, adrenaline surge, and heavy attack bonus. Base modifiers are bonuses such as rarity and melee damage buffs. Rarity bonus is typically the same for ranged weapons, which are 10%, 30%, and 60%. For damage variants, these are 20%, 40%, and 80% respectively. Melee weapons do not follow this rule at all, as some have higher rarity versions with lower rarity bonus. In addition, melee damage bonus are also part of this component. Damage sensitivity is an arbitrarily named component group, mainly because the values here are oftentimes related to effects such as parry bonus, enemy specific damage buffs, and for some reason headshot damage. You will notice that the buffs in this group oftentimes have very specific conditions to be triggered. While each of these values are tied to very specific actions, they can also result in tremendous damage boost in those conditions. Ranged attacks and melee attacks are stacked in different ways, and we will attempt to understand such interactions here. Also keep in mind, due to how the game rounds numbers as well as some engine shenanigans, the numbers will not always be 100% precise. A reminder that this isn't a formula fished directly out of the game, but one that testers have worked out, so it is possible that it isn't 100% accurate in some cases, especially since some interactions are incredibly difficult to test for. Without any additional modifiers, the formula for an instance of range damage could be simplified as the following. To confirm this formula, we devise a very simple test. We use the standard Stalker bolt rifle, which has a base damage of 5, a rarity bonus of 0% for the non-damage version, and an innate headshot modifier of 2. Enemies also have their own inherent headshot damage. In the Sword Warrior's case, it is 2. No auspex is involved, so we can omit it as 1. Let's plug in our values. Our base modifier is only rarity bonus, so it is 1 plus 0 equals 1.0. For damage sensitivity, we have a headshot bonus of 0 from buffs and perks. And we also have no enemy specific damage buffs. The enemy is also not parried, so we leave 1 plus 0 equals 1 for this component. Our static modifiers include our base damage, which is 5. The innate weapon headshot bonus is 2. This enemy has an innate headshot damage multiplier of 2. No auspex is used here, and melee warriors take 1 times range damage. Therefore, our predicted damage with the standard Stalker bolt rifle headshot is 20 damage. Our body shot damage should just be 5. And it tracks. For the relic one, our damage should be 8 on a body shot and 32 for a headshot. We adjust our components accordingly: 5 times 1 plus 0.6 times 1 plus 0 plus 0 equals 8 for body shots. 5 times 1.6 times 2 times 2 times 1 equals 32 for headshot. Now let's observe a more complex situation. In this test, we'll use a heavy bolt pistol using perks from the top row entirely. Also, Tactical Precision has the incorrect perk description. It actually reduces your range damage static modifier by 10%, but increases your headshot bonus by 30%. We will also be using the Tactical class for his aspects. Our base damage is 3. Rarity bonus is 60%. Range damage buff is minus 10%. Inherent headshot damage is 1.5. Enemy headshot damage is 2. The Sword Warrior has a 1x range damage multiplier. We parry the enemy for a 50% bonus. Our headshot bonus is 50%, and we have no enemy specific damage buffs. Finally, Default Aspects provides 50% damage sensitivity as a static modifier. We plug in the values 3 times 1.6 times 1 minus 0.1 times 1.5 times 2 times 1 times 1 plus 0.5 plus 0.5 plus 0 times 1 plus 0.5 equals 38.8. Checks out with the in-game value. Notice how because headshot bonus is a part of the damage sensitivity component, its damage increase is not as dramatic as you might imagine, especially when the enemy is parried. Previously in the Hidden Mechanics video, I noted that headshot damage on the parried enemy was only an extra 33%. This is untrue, as the percentage change is the absolute difference between parried and non-parried state. If the enemy isn't parried, headshot damage should increase as expected. That said, range damage is still the superior option when given the choice, because it will increase your final damage proportionally regardless of the situation. Next up is melee damage. The simplified formula is as follows. Let's test the formula. We use the Balanced Relic Chainsword, which has a base damage of 9.5, a relic bonus of 90%, and a motion value of 1 for the light attack. We have a Sword Warrior, and we have no additional damage modifiers against this enemy. It is also not parried or auspexed. Let's plug in our values. 9.5 times 1 plus 0.9 times 1 plus 0 plus 0 times 1 equals 18.05. The game shows 18.04 for some reason, as small a difference as that is. For the Shoulder Bash Heavy, we substitute the motion value with 2.6 instead. This yields 46.93, which corresponds with the in-game value. To demonstrate the differences between range damage buffs and melee damage buffs, we will use Overcharge and Retribution. Overcharge gives 25% damage to charge attacks, while Retribution gives 25% more melee damage after being grabbed or knocked back. Overcharge gives us 58.6625 damage, which is the same as 46.93 times 1.25. Retribution should also give us exactly that, but it doesn't. This is because, for one reason or another, melee damage bonus is considered a part of the base modifier component, instead of being a static modifier like range damage bonus or heavy attack bonus. If we add 0.25 to the base modifier component, our formula will look like this. 9.5 times 1 plus 0.9 plus 0.25 times 1 plus 0 plus 0 times 2.6 equals 53.105. Instead of the expected 25% increase in damage, we get a little bit less than 14% instead. This means that on its own, melee damage buff is strictly inferior than any static modifiers like Overcharge, pound for pound. This is very similar to headshot damage bonus in our range damage formula. The caveat being, of course, that it is a lot easier to stack melee damage buffs than it is static modifiers for melee damage, as the latter are very few and far in between. So let's review what we've learned so far about ranged and melee damage calculation. 1. Headshot damage bonus and melee damage bonus are additive within their respective components. They are easier to stack, but they also provide less effect than static modifiers proportionally. 2. Range damage bonus and heavy attack bonus are static multipliers. They provide far greater effect on the final damage, but are also rarer. I'll leave an experimental damage calculator in the description of the video. It is nowhere close to being complete, but should come in very handy if you like to find out your theoretical damage. This topic has always been mired in confusion due to how obscure everything is in Space Marine 2. Hopefully you will have learned something new by the end of this video. This video was also a huge undertaking. The script alone took over a week to complete due to finding out new things to test and confirm, and would have taken even longer without the help of Hypex, who is also the author of the Testing Arena mod. So, shout out to him, and please support his mod on the Nexus. A new version with the expanded function of the one you see me using in the clips should be coming out shortly if not already released. Thanks for watching and have a good one.